This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Now, all I have to do is say this word, and whether this is a part of your life or not, right away, we're on edge. Narcissist. Say the word, narcissist. You know, what? Wait a minute. Is somebody, we know it's not a good thing. We're going to talk about that today. It's gotten a lot of attention in the last couple of years, and even so trending on TikTok lately, you know, a lot of tips for spotting one and such. Let's dig into that with somebody that offers many different types of therapy, from CBT, DBT, and so much more. Also, someone who is behind a wonderful nonprofit for horses and healing and such. And she is Jen Wolf. She's back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Really well.
Good.
As I track my life going back, I try to identify those who may have been narcissists. And I wonder, I don't know if others do that. I don't have immediate people popping up, but suspicions. Well, I guess let's go back to basics. How do we define what a narcissist is?
So there's the technical function of it where you look into there's 9 qualities and you must get 5. If you hit 5, then you can be diagnosed narcissist. But we don't do that in our everyday. So what we look for, without being clinical, we look for people who are very selfish, self-centered, which we see a lot. So that doesn't make you a narcissist. We look for people who, everybody in their past, when you're just in conversation with them, is to blame, is at fault. Lots of negativity around, my ex was crazy, my ex did this, we broke up because of her doing this, what have you. Even blaming parents, we blame bosses, we blame the landlord for why we get kicked out of an apartment, everything. Everything is someone else's fault. We look for having a little bit more ideas of a grandiose idea of who we are, bigger than what we really are. So our reach is smaller, but we think it's huge. We have great big plans for our future, things that are likely to not really come to fruition. And they're cold, run hot and cold. They act like you're everything one minute and the next minute you're just disposable. So there's red flags that we look for and we want to run. The saying is the best way to deal with a narcissist is not to. So there's that. And we see it in aspects of so many different places, and we have all come in contact with narcissists in our lives, whether long or short term.
Oh, so many questions here. So you say the best way to deal with a narcissist is not to deal with a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But when you need to, just because of the dynamics of a relationship, household, and such, I've often heard that just present facts. Present facts. The facts are the facts. There's no,
Mm-hmm.
is that even reasonable?
So you can present a narcissist with facts. The problem with a narcissist is they do not recognize facts. So it could be in black and white writing. You could say, here's what happened, present it to them, and they will skew the narrative, skew the reality. Truth means nothing to them. The only thing that matters to them is what's in their mind, how they need it to play out. So if you do have to deal with a narcissist, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's an ex and you have kids together, that's the one people get tangled in the most. The best way to deal with them is short, sweet, and to the point. So if they're trying to sort of goat you into a fight, you cannot go down that path. You treat them like children. You simply repeat, nope, I'm going to pick up Joe at 3 o'clock after school. They want to have a confrontation. I'll be picking up Joe at 3 o'clock after school. You don't get into anything else, just the matter at hand. If out of nowhere you get this idea of, hey, I want to talk about this, argue about this, Do not respond. The only way to really get past narcissistic trauma and abuse is no contact. So where you can, you've got
Mm.
to go silent.
That is very challenging because let's say it's your partner, your spouse, and I'm going to say it's no surprise. You saw signs along the way until you had that moment of, oh, this is what I'm dealing with. So keeping that communication short in that situation, very challenging, right?
It really is. It really is. And what's tricky about narcissists is we often find ourselves in a relationship with them because they were Prince Charming. They were everything we wanted in the beginning. And you think, man, this is too good to be true. It's my soulmate. And after somewhere, usually between 4 and 8 months, the mask starts to slip, and you think, who is this person? And by then, they've manipulated, they've gotten you.
Hmm. Digression, but applies. In my journey, everyone shows you who they are in the beginning.
Mhm.
The answer is there, the signs are there. We don't see it. And a lot of times I think the narcissist is that they're showing you. But like you
Mhm.
say, new relationship, you're smitten, everything's great. And a lot of times you just choose to, it's not a big deal. I just put that aside. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Where
Yep.
are we going for dinner? It's there.
Hmm.
It's there.
It is. It's there. And that's kind of one of the things I learned was look for how they talk about their past, the people in their past.
Ooh.
That will help you in the beginning to not get sort of swooned into their web. It's called love bombing, and they make you feel like you're the greatest thing in the world, that you are everything they've been looking for. So that's wonderful and it feels so good, but we also have to ask questions about what happened in the past, what happened with your divorce, how are you with your parents? And we look for things that indicate everything is everybody else's fault. Poor you, everybody was evil. That will help us to not get caught in that web.
I've heard that a narcissist, it starts at childhood. And many times a narcissist is developed born because they didn't get their needs met from their mother, whether it was attention, whether it was soothing and comfort. Have you ever heard that?
Yes. So it does start in childhood. They start to accidentally build us. They're not doing it on purpose. They start to accidentally build us. We don't diagnose personality disorders until someone's an adult, but you can see it in children um, early on. And it comes from a very unstable environment. A child will feel smothered and at one point and left to their own devices at another point. They will feel that the love they receive from their parents is conditional. So if I do this, they will love me. If I do this, they won't. I need to do this so I get attention because they're not paying attention. Sometimes that's negative attention. So you'll see they bend the rules, don't adhere to rules. Rules don't apply to them. So you'll see things as a kid where you can kind of go, uh-oh. And it usually is a very unstable environment. It feels very conditional.
How is it actually diagnosed? You said it's five out of, was it seven or more than
9.
9?
9.
What are some of those things? Because I find it fascinating how this and how does that happen? They go to a therapist, the therapist asks questions and then identifies based on the answers that they could be a narcissist.
Yeah, it goes through a screener process. Usually, you can tell that you're talking to a narcissist, especially if you've been clinically trained to identify and work with them. You can usually tell without the screener. Now, if the rare occasion occurs that a narcissist asks for help or a diagnosis, you would take them through a series of questions and screeners. The problem is a narcissist will rarely ever seek help because it's nothing wrong with them. It has something to do with you. So the odds of them going to therapy are slim to none. And if they do, it's usually a couple of times before they drop out because they start to realize the therapist is calling them out and they don't want that. So it looks like grandiose ideas of self, self centeredness, um, a sort of conditional love bombing. You're great, and then they can turn cold on you. It's just it's very obvious if you know what to look for. It's glaringly obvious that you're dealing with one. A lot of
What
victim stance.
does a narcissist ever know that they're a narcissist?
I think in rare cases, they may think, huh, something's wrong here. I don't have relationships and I don't love like other people, like something's missing. But for the most part, they do have to really work hard to adhere to their idea of self, because underneath all of this bold grandiosity is a very fragile ego.
Mm,
So if you are dealing with a narcissist and anything they perceive as a slight, they will go through the roof. So what appears to be a very almost cocky, arrogant type person, underneath they're very wounded.
wow. So is it also part of the classic when somebody feels minimized and they just don't have a lot of confidence in themselves, they'll put others down to build themselves up?
Absolutely, it's like the schoolyard bully.
Yeah.
Um, they're struggling somewhere, and so when they come to school, they put the focus on somebody else and bully them so that the focus is off of them and their wounds. So very, very much so like the schoolyard bully.
So greater question here. This is a big one. Um, is it their fault?
I think originally you could say it's not their fault. I think in the long term, there comes a time where we're adults and we become responsible for our actions, our place in the world, our behaviors. And when people are going through life and people you meet are consistently saying, God, you're mean, or what is your problem? Or where's this coming from? Who are you? Lots of, I call them carcasses in their wake. You got to take a look and say, what is going on here? Maybe I need to talk to somebody. So, not necessarily will they say I'm a narcissist, but I think it's important that everybody recognizes poor behaviors, how they can change that, how they can be a more suitable partner, parent, whatever. I think there comes a time where we have to start looking inside, and they rarely ever can do that.
Mm, well, it's taking responsibility. It sounds like they don't take responsibility for anything.
No, no. And if you say to them, whether in anger, like, God, you're a narcissist, or calmly, like, do you think perhaps you're narcissistic? In their instant reaction is to say, no, you're the narcissist. You're the crazy one. So if you call them that, they will instantly project and say, you are the crazy one. You're at fault. You're the narcissist.
Deflection.
Hmm. Big time.
Wow. What else do you want us to know about narcissists?
They're awful. um, what's fascinating about it is what got me so involved in wanting to learn more about it is the effects that it has on us afterwards. So the rewiring and the patterns in our brain are similar to those with PTSD. So when we study a PTSD brain and we study a narcissistic abuse brain, they're very similar in how the patterns and the changes are. So when somebody says, "Why don't you just leave them?" We can't. We were manipulated slowly over time to think there is nobody else who would come anywhere near us. We're sick, we're wounded. So I stay with this person. We're manipulated to think if I just do this better, or if I work harder at this, um, they will love me. They will come back to the glimpse of the person we every once in a while see who's marvelous. So all the onus gets put on us. And then when you start to call them out, have enough, or they see that you recognize who they are, you get thrown out like yesterday's food. And you're left there wondering, how could somebody love me and just get rid of me so quickly? And so the wound is so severe that it's very similar to PTSD. That's why people don't leave. That's why people struggle. And you'll say, why don't you get over it already? You're severely wounded. Sometimes people are left suicidal. It's so bad. It is no joke dealing with a narcissist.
Wow. Um, could you go through a relationship with somebody where it isn't all of those, classic narcissistic signs, but every once in a while something pops up there until one day maybe you start saying something and then they bounce. They're gone. That's it. End of the relationship. Boop, boop, ended it. And that's it. Because they feel that, oh, the jig is up. They figured out who I am.
It could be. Usually you're able to identify it sooner because it becomes more and more obvious. But you could have like a long-term relationship with one, and either you are a saint and really good with them and able to make it work, or they're really good at either keeping the mask on or making you feel like you're just crazy if you call them out. But usually early on, you're going to start to feel very uncomfortable, hypervigilant, that the shoe is going to drop. And you worry about that all the time. And when they're wonderful to you, you're terrified because you know the other side is lurking.
Does it feel when you're in a relationship with a narcissist that you're always on guard?
Yes. Mhm.
Like,
Again, similar to PTSD. Yes.
like eggshells.
Always.
Wow. What's what do you do in that situation? Here you are. You're in a relationship. It's been a number of years. You might have roots, home, family, all of that. No, things along the way haven't been, fantastic, but you pilot through it until you start realizing maybe it's getting a little worse and a little worse at the hands of that narcissist. What can you do? What should you do?
The very first step is seek help. Seek help with a professional who is extremely well versed in narcissistic trauma. If you recognize that you're possibly in that kind of a relationship, do not do it alone. So, professional help and seek support from a trusted person in your life who you have a constant access to so that if something happens, because unfortunately, with narcissists, the chances of them becoming violent are pretty good at some point. So, we need to have that support system. We need to have the professional.
Mm,
It's easier said than done, but leave. And when we can't leave, that's why these supports and professionals are so important. Financially, we can't always leave. With children, we don't always want to leave. There's so many factors.
mm.
So have those people in place first and foremost.
Somebody needs to write a book, Living with a Narcissist. Because is that even possible? Like to what we're saying here, sometimes you can't. Sometimes, I mean, eventually, I do believe it will get to the point where you got to go when it gets
Mhm.
that toxic. But if it's, let's say a 10 on the 10 scale, 10 is intolerable. I feel like I'm leaving, packing my bags now. I'm out. I can't deal with you
Mhm.
anymore. Let's say you're riding at the 5 or the 6 there. You got your good days, you got your bad days. And, is it even possible to navigate that in a halfway decent way?
Yes, again with supports. The scary part is they literally take years off of our lives,
Mm,
because of the stress and the anxiety that they put us through. You can survive it, but that's literally all you'd be doing is surviving. You're not living, you're not happy.
okay.
Everything is depleted out of you, and you recognize it.
There's your answer right there. You're living, you're getting by, but that's not what life is supposed to be about. Hmm.
Mhm.
Wow. Um, is there any way to get the narcissist in your life support? Like, it seems like that is a big challenge to say, we got to go to therapy, the stuff going on here, whether you call them out on it, I think you're a narcissist. I don't even know if that's a good idea. Is there a way
No.
to lead the horse to the water to get them therapy?
Yes, it's kind of a manipulative way, but you could say, I noticed that I'm struggling with our relationship lately, and I was thinking about, us going into couples counseling. They may go because then they think oh, you're struggling. So if we go to therapy, it's going to be all about you, and I'm going to be able to expose you for the whack job that you are. And the therapist is going to think that I'm oh so poor because I have to tolerate you. So you can try it, and they'll often do it, but they won't stay because at some point, the therapist is going to turn the narrative and say, here's what's going on with you as well as your partner. Here's what I see in you. And then they're out. They don't like it. So it's hard to get them in. Very few will do it if there is something major riding on it. Sometimes, like, you'll lose your kids if you don't knock it off.
Mm.
Sometimes they will go through the motions, but it is a personality disorder. So it's really tough to overcome those.
Final question. This is heavy stuff, but so important to talk about. Would the narcissist hear your request or pleas to go to therapy and think, and there's many different degrees and levels of this, but think to themselves, you know, I don't want to lose my partner. Maybe they're not aware that they're a narcissist, but would they even have that realization, or are they going to be on guard that they've been revealed potentially, and now they're going to run from it?
They'll be wounded because it's perhaps they've been the truth is coming out. If they have narcissistic traits, then yes, you may be able to save your relationship. If they're a full-blown narcissist, and there's different types of narcissists, and different levels and stuff, chances are no, you're not going to fix it.
Wow. Pretty heavy for many,
Yeah,
where
sad.
it's, dare I say, terminal, situation.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Have you, personal question here, uh,
Mhm.
have you experienced a narcissist close in your life?
Yes. So after my husband, my picker was off, and two back-to-back really difficult ones, which is what led me into my specialization in narcissistic abuse. I had to learn about it because twice in a row, something's going on here. I need to figure out what it is. So yeah, twice, right in a row.
Final question, because this is what many of us deal with. Why did that come up for you? Why did you make that choice? If you knew, you wouldn't have done it, but it goes back to things in our lives,
hmm
childhood,
So
maybe.
I think it- perhaps. So I was raised very empathetic and compassionate to people, and narcissists often look like the little victim who needs help, and I love to fix and save. Hence 30 horses that but I think by and large, what happened was losing my husband was so hard that I started looking for what can I save and fix to fill that hole in me that I couldn't save in my husband. And it took me a lot of work to figure that one out.
Thank you for sharing that. And my intuition says that that was an answer for many of us,
Mm.
where especially those of us who are empathetic and just want to help. And then you have, this wounded little bird that comes to you, and you look like, not that you want to change them, but you want to help them in any way, whether it's giving them love or just, a hug or whatever it might be. Meanwhile, on the when flip them around, you have the narcissist
Yep,
there.
yep,
Wow.
yep.
Hmm.
They will hate you for the things they loved about you when they met you.
Thank you for sharing. Unbelievable. Like, this conversation, pretty heavy, but conversation needed to be had. Um, Jen, how do we connect with you? What's the best way?
So I have all the social medias. If you go to destinationsequinetherapy.com, you can find all of my contact information, schedule appointments, my social media handles, everything will be on there. So you can call, text, email, whatever works.
All I'm going to say is this very much resonates for me in the business area, where I was working with somebody on a partnership, and it has recently been revealed, in my estimation, a lot of what you just said.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm ending it. and
Good on you. It's
and
tough,
and
but
what's
good job.
what's interesting, Jen, is as I'm very professional, very tactful and empathetic. As I'm wrapping it up, I'm seeing signs now coming out even more of evidence of what you just said. because they're, scrambling and all of that. So for all of us, thank you for today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And I just want to share with everybody too, the empathetic side of you is your mission to help many, including our veterans and also animals, specifically horses, as you mentioned. Go to the website. It's all there. A lot of good stuff. And I appreciate you. Looking forward next time we get together.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.